Hi, I'm Dr. John Walker. By understanding the digestive system of a horse, we are much better equipped to improve the health and performance of our horses and ponies. Frequently, it is poor nutrition or poor feeding practices that leads to poor performance, be that on the racetrack, at pony club, or when simply out for a quiet ride. Today I want to discuss 3 golden rules. The first rule is a horse must always have access to clean, fresh water. The second rule, the main dietary requirement of a horse is fibre, so that's pasture, hay or chaff. A horse needs to consume approximately 1% of its body weight in fibre every single day. So that's 5 kilos for a 16-hand thoroughbred or up to 3 kilos for a 14-hand pony. So remember, if you wet your hay, it will weigh more. So always weigh your hay before you wet it. Rule number 3, horses have small stomachs and most of the digestion takes place in the small intestine. It is very easy to overload both, and this can lead to stomach ulcers, colic, diarrhoea and even laminitis. Consequently, I recommend you feed small amounts often. For best results, your horse needs a balanced diet, and this involves feeding the correct amounts of energy, protein, vitamins and minerals. It is almost impossible for an amateur person to get this right, and so leading feed manufacturers employ experienced nutritionists to do the job for you. Choose a brand that clearly displays the nutrient content and feeding requirements on the bag. I am certain you will see improved performance in your horse, and you may even save a few dollars.
A troop was founded to commemorate a World War I light horse troop of the same name. It's the oldest continuous light horse troop in Australia.
Hi Stuart, how many troops in the Australian light horse is there still in Australia?
There are no regular army light horse units, of course, as mechanised today, but the Light Horse Association has, I believe, 70 different groups registered with them.
Would you mind me asking your age and how long you have been involved with the troop for?
I'm 75 years of age and we've been running the troop for I think 32 years now, since 1977, yeah.
And what was the role of the light horsemen in World War I?
They were basically mounted infantry. They used the horse as transport to get to the point where they were needed, where they dismounted and fought on foot. Other than that, they were used for reconnaissance work and long-distance patrols out into the desert. They were looked after very carefully because it meant a man's life was his transport. They were groomed regularly, fed regularly. Sometimes they went as much as 80 hours without a drink of water under saddle, but they managed to survive. And from soldiers that were there, they said they got very, very thin, but once they had a drink, they seemed to swell out and get fat again.
You have a museum, Stuart, with all original equipment from World War I?
Yes, we have a lot of light horse equipment here. The one we have here is a horse fully equipped for the riders in the desert in the First World War, with a rifle, mess tin, and on the other side he has a sword, a water bucket, feed bag. On the front of the horse is a bedroll that has his blanket and clothing rolled in it, and behind the saddle is a greatcoat and a sweater is rolled up in there.
The blue and white
is the first light horse. That's the regiment that we ride under. All the pack saddles are a GS pack saddle, general service pack saddle, and they have movable trees so that they, as a horse gets thinner, the tree closes together to allow for a horse losing weight. This one is called a cacolet. It's 2 chairs on a pack saddle to carry wounded people. In this case we have a nose bag and brushes, curry comb, and the bottom case here has a haversack, water bottle, mess tins and bandolier, and a hold all with your razor and toothbrush and what have you in it.
There is also a legend that before the troops came back to Australia, that the light horseman actually had to shoot his horse.
There is a lot of hoo-ha, I can put it, of people going off and shooting their own horse, but if you'd done that you would have been charged with destroying government property. The ones that were over age, very debilitated, and were past their economical life, and they were shot, not by individual troopers, but I understand they were given a nose bag, and then the regimental marksmen lined up and shot them.
So what type of manoeuvres do you do as a light horse troop?
We start off in line, that's all facing to the front. The horses learn to walk forward and then to turn left or right, whichever way it is. Form single file, half sections, which is 2, or a section, which is 4. They have to be able to leg yield at least, not a correct half pass as per dressage, but a leg yield so they can step sideways, turn on the hind quarter, turn on the forequarter, and rein back. They're the basic cavalry movements. Well, once the riders and the horses also are trained sufficiently, we carry out what's called skill at arms, either tent pegging, ring tilting, or we've got mannequins there which are built on the 1910 cavalry manual pattern. We use a lance or a sword, 1902 pattern British cavalry thrust sword. We also carry a rifle and bayonet. We usually attend 16 upwards outings a year to official functions. We've done a display for the APEC Chiefs of Staff a couple of years ago when the big APEC conference was on. Quite regularly we do the church parade for the Royal New South Wales Lancers, the first 15th at Parramatta. We go to schools, we've been to nursing homes, we do Anzac parades. That sort of covers pretty well what we do.
Coming up after the break, Horse Talk TV tip of the week, how to save your back when cleaning out hooves. Our viewer competition, Make My Horse a Star. And A Troop display their fantastic skill at arms.